So this video is about doing basic preventative maintenance on an HVAC system that is using chilled water and then it's got a heating coil. And recently our property manager in the building recommended that we do an annual or biannual checks by having a service company come in. And I've done that. I've had one of the companies that was on the recommended list come in twice, and I watched them very closely both times. And the second time, I asked the technician, I said, this looks pretty basic and I think I could do it. He said, yeah, you could do it. And the reason why is because the units are so basic. Chilled water comes across the coils, and you got a big fan that's going to blow across it. So in terms of the AC operation, the important aspects are that you want to have the coils super clean. First, we're going to take the filter here off. And notice on this one, just like mine and many others I've seen, we're using duct tape or something else to keep them in there because these are odd size shapes. And you can order these odd size shapes, but they're a little more expensive than, in this case, a standard 20 by 30, which you can get at Home Depot. But this works effectively. You just want to make sure that you're closing up quite a few of the gaps, because if there's a big gap here on the side, air will go around the filter, and that's not good. You want all the air to go through the filter to trap all of the dust so it doesn't go out throughout the house. So duct tape is a great solution. So take the old filter out. Thank you. So these are the coils here, and there's two things really for the maintenance. That is to keep the coils super clean. And what we have is a can of evaporating foam no rinse. You can get this on Amazon. Do you remember how much it cost? 10 bucks?
It's 15 bucks.
15 bucks. This can will last probably 2 or 3 treatments. For me, I use about half the can, which is much more than the service guys recommended. But they wanted to charge an additional $75 to do the coil clean. They weren't going to do it. I happened to have this, and the guy said, oh great, I'll go ahead and clean them for you. So the way you use this, right now the unit's turned off, is just going to spray in there. It's going to be like this one over half here. And don't worry if it drips down, that's fine. What's going to end up happening is the condensation from the AC is going to provide the rinsing for you. And as this falls down into the drip pan, that's the next thing we're going to look at is the drip pan. This will also clean your drip pan as well. All right, so we sprayed the whole thing down. I used actually probably the majority of the can. This is the first time this has ever been cleaned, possibly. We don't know. It's the first time that the owner has ever cleaned it. So I used more than maybe we needed to. The importance of this is we're keeping the grills here nice and clean. You want a lot of airflow, and so what this is doing is it's cleaning out that kind of grime, just grime that we have in the air, oils that we have in the air. You don't want any dust to stick to that, which will just create more sticky grime. It becomes plugged up because we want a lot of airflow. We want easy airflow so that you can get maximum amount of cooling with the fan. So the next step then is we're going to check out the drain pan. So the drain pan is right down here. And so there's 4 screws. 1/4 inch seems to work. And so lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay, so last screw is out. So cover here will just kind of pop down. Just set it here. So you'll see here, this is your drain pan right here. I'll pull it out a little bit. And it's connected to this hose. This is the drain hose. So all of your ACs are going to have condensation, and that condensation has to go somewhere. So it just drips down, goes into this pan, and it goes through this hole. So we also want to check here is that you've got good drainage out of the pan. And you do, it's not full. You can see some water in there, that's fine. But you want to make sure that hole there is clear. So every time I change the filter, I'll pour about at least a half a cup. I usually do about a cup of vinegar, any type, doesn't matter what kind of vinegar. Just pour vinegar down here. That'll help clear out any growth you have in there. I also use, can you hand me the algae top tablets? I also put a pan tablet in there once a year, and you take it and just kind of throw it in the back. It just helps control any growth that you might have there in the pan. The the technicians never recommended I do that. I asked them about it. They said, yeah, that's fine. But they were pretty much just focused on just throw some vinegar down there. So that's what we'll do next is we'll put some vinegar down here and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so here we've got a full cup of apple cider vinegar. Again, any kind of type of vinegar will work. Your cheap white vinegar is just fine. I'm just gonna pour that right into the drain pan. You notice that there's some coloration in there. I think that's probably an algae that is orange. Wow, look how the vinegar actually cleared out quite a bit of that. Just kind of loosened it up. But it's not rust, I can tell. I noticed it up here. It's not rust because if you rub on it, it's very liquid. There's no corrosion from it, so it's not rust. It's just an orange algae. All kinds of algae in the world. You can, if you want to be super thorough, you can go ahead and just take this little crimp fastener on there, pinch that together, take the hose off, take a cup really fast, grab all the water that's coming out, and take your entire drain pan out, and you can clean it and make it spotless if you want to. I've asked a technician about that, actually both about that. I said, should we take it out and clean it? He says, no, it's not that important. He says, you're getting good drainage here, it's fine, and it's fairly new. Maybe after 10 or years or so, maybe clean would be good. But that's it. So we finished that. We could throw an algae tablet in there if you want to, completely optional. Again, the technician didn't think it was going to do that much. Push that back in, and then we're going to put this plate back on. And all the plate really does is just holds that drain pan in there. It's not holding like a system together. So on mine, I wanted to replace these screws. I had a friend who recommended just replacing them with little nuts that or bolts that have a slot in them that we can just use a screwdriver versus using a socket wrench. I wasn't able to find the right size, so I never have done that. We just put them all back in there and tighten them up. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now we're just going to attach the plate back up there that just keeps the drain pan in place so it doesn't slide out. Talked about how you clean that out if you wanted to. It's full of water. It should have water in there. That makes sense. That's working normally. What you don't want is water spilling out of this, coming down here onto this kind of felt material. That's how you're going to get a real problem. That's why it's recommended that you clean this. So the filter, if it's not the same size or it doesn't fit perfectly, what's important is that the edge of the filter is not this side of this lip. You want it to be, probably at least half of that. In this case, it is. Not to worry, if it's not, you could still create a nice tight seal in there by using duct tape or just even HVAC tape. This one's a little larger, by the way, guys. It is 20 by 30, but it's not fitting like the other one. So actually, you've got a much tighter seal with this one than you have in your previous one. It's going to do absolutely nothing, but we do need to seal it up here. So that's where your tape is going to come in handy, and we're going to simulate that this is really duct tape. It's not. There's no duct tape available right now, but when there is, we're going to seal it up nice and tight. Okay, so the other thing that the technician would do is they would measure differentials. And so differentials mean how cold is the air that's being produced, that's going out on the supply side of this, versus the temperature that's going into it, into the return. So what they would do is they would measure that differential between what's coming in and what's coming out. And for standard compressor condenser type units, that makes a lot of sense, because if the air coming in is 90 degrees, you're not going to have air coming out that's 50 degrees. It's just impossible. Well, not with the size of units. So differentials don't make sense on these. So in fact, when he was measuring, I said, why are you measuring differentials? He said, that's what we do. So what is important though is to find out, is your system producing the cold air that you should be getting with the chilled water? For our building, the goal is 55 degrees. So what we'll do is we'll turn the AC on, we'll let it run for a minute, and then I'll show you how to use a thermal thermometer to measure what the temperature is coming out of the vents. So we talked about how the differential really doesn't make sense, at least not in my mind, because with these systems you should be getting a certain temperature of air coming up, because the chilled water is a certain temperature coming in from the city. So you can get a a laser thermometer like this. I think I picked this up at Harbor Freight, maybe for $20. You turn it on, just shoot it at one of your registers here. So like right now we're seeing, it came up as 56.5, 55, we're at 55, 56. That's a good amount. The installer who put these in, they said 55 that's as good as we're ever going to get. So 55 to 58 typically. And so part of what, when you have a service person come out to service your AC, they're making sure that it's working. This is the best way to find out if your AC is working, hands down. That's it. Hope it's helpful.